What is happening? What is going on? Wendell's World in Sports. I'm your host, Wendell Wallace. So glad that you could be with me on the video version of what I do, my YouTube channel, Wendell Wallace, spelled Wendell, Wallace, not Wendall. My name is Wendell, not Wendell. So Wendell, Wallace, Wallace. That's my YouTube channel. This is just kind of like a Cliff Note version of what I do for my regular podcast. It's called Wendell's World in Sports. You can listen to it on Spotify. You can listen to it on iTunes. You can listen to it anywhere where you listen to podcasts. You can also go to my Twitter page. You can also go to my Instagram page. You can go to my Facebook page to find a link linking up to not only my podcast site, but also any individual podcast that I've done. So I want to welcome everybody. I want to thank you very much for listening and watching this video. This handsome young man right here. I'm no longer handsome. I'm no longer young, but yet still, I'm doing the best that I can with what I've got. Wendell's World in Sports. I'm your host, Wendell Wallace. So glad that you could be with us. Just like I say on my regular podcast, I hope everybody is doing well. I hope everybody is healthy. I hope everybody is growing. I hope everybody in the world that we're living in today is listening, learning, listening. Shut up. Listen, learn, educate yourself, grow, so we can make this world, so we can make your neighborhood, so we can make the state, so we can make your region, so we can make the society a better place to be, if not for my generation, for your children's generation and their generation, and so on and so forth. So maybe 50, 60 years down the road, your children's children can be living in a much better society than what we're living in right now. So I always do my part to say when I start my podcast, bonjour, bonsoir, monsieur, mademoiselle, je m'appelle Wendell Wallace. Wendell's World in Sports. So glad that you could be with us. Que pasa, mi amigos? Mi amo Wendell Wallace. Wendell's World in Sports. So glad that you could be with us. Assalamu alaikum, my brothers and sisters. Wendell's World in Sports. I'm your host, Wendell Wallace. So glad that you could be with us. Konnichiwa, Wendell's World in Sports. I'm your host, Wendell Wallace. So glad that you could be with us. Shalom, my brothers and sisters. Wendell's World in Sports. So glad that you could be with us. The Cliff Note version, the YouTube version, the video version. And what I'm going to be talking about today in the world of sports, as I'm recording this on a late Sunday night, the first week of the NFL season has been upon us. The games, both the NFL and college football, are back in action. Thank Jesus, thank God that we have our Sundays, that I have my Sundays to sit from 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time all the way up to around 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time and watch nothing but NFL football, watching it on the Red Zone, watching it on the local channels. So, yeah, man, it's all good. It's all good. I know that I haven't really been watching too much college football. Been thrown off by the season, not having any marquee matchups. You know, Labor Day for college football is when you get your marquee matchups, when you really get your juices flowing for the start of college football. But because of the weird 2020 year that we have in the ongoing NBA playoffs, which I've been really getting myself into, and when I do my regular podcast, which is going to be a much longer version, much more detailed version of what this podcast is, the video podcast, I'll get into more detail and I'll get into what's happening in the NBA playoff. But for this podcast right here, for my video podcast, for my YouTube podcast here on Wendell's World in Sports, I'm going to be talking mainly about the NFL Week 1 moving forward. I also want to hit something in terms of Steve Nash being the head coach of the Brooklyn Nets, somebody in the media who makes a boatload of money and has a huge profile, tried to make the statement that this is what white privilege is all about. It was ridiculous. It was idiotic. It was stupid. It was defeating our purpose and what we're trying to do to move forward toward unity and equality. So at the end of the podcast, of this video podcast, when I'm done talking about college football and done talking about the NFL, I will quickly get into my thoughts and opinions about what I feel about that statement moving forward. The man who mentioned that notion in terms of white privilege for Steve Nash, his name I will not mention, but I'm quite sure you guys know who it is. So getting back to college football, man, week 2 saw Clemson over Wake Forest 37-13, number 5 Oklahoma over Missouri State 48-0, Notre Dame over Duke 27-13, yawn, some surprise losses. Iowa State, number 23 in the country, losing to Louisiana 31-14 at home. Kansas State, Chad Shirley out there in Manhattan, Kansas, losing to Arkansas State at home 35-31. Trying to watch a little college football this weekend for the first time. Again, as I mentioned, been really delved into the NBA without the NFL starting. So I really haven't gotten really juiced into college football. Let me know as far as my excitement will go through the roof the weekend of September 24th. That's the week number 4 of the college football season. That is when the SEC starts playing their football game. So I'll get into that in terms of wow, yip, yip, hippie, hippie, hip, hooray, ray, ray. The college football season is starting. But also, guess what? Starting in October, at least mid-October, there's reports that possibly, maybe, the Big Ten Conference could be playing football in the upcoming months here. The Big Ten presidents and chancellors met on Sunday. They haven't voted yet on whether to accelerate the league's return to the football field, but the meeting was the second of the weekend for the university's leaders, who are expected to vote in the upcoming days on a plan that could have the league's schools play football before the end of October. Jesus fucking A Christ. Now, according to Yahoo Sports' Pete Thamel, he reported on this, that Sunday's meeting featured an emphasis on medical protocols and what's changed since the league initially decided to cancel the fall sports season on August 11th. And then Saturday, there was a meeting between the presidents and chancellors of the Big Ten Return to Competition Task Force. I mean, Lord have mercy. I didn't even know that the Big Ten had a task force which was dedicated to returning to play football this season. But they met with the presidents and chancellors amid continued pressure from the league to join the ACC and the Big 12 and the SEC concerning playing football in the spring. I guess, the thought of Ohio State missing the opportunity to try to win the NCAA championship and everything got Ryan Day all, got his panties all in the gibber, and he's up there talking about we need to play. In fact, this weekend, the weekend meetings of Big Ten's decision makers took place after Ohio State head coach Ryan Day praised the Big Ten's medical subcommittee for doing, quote, an excellent job of creating a safe pathway returning to play in mid-October. Man, this is just like a situation where it's kind of like, look, man, you know what? I'm going to sue your ass for $200 million, but I'll settle for $50 million after taxes in terms of what's going on. Want to sue you for $200. You don't want to sue. You don't want to pay me a dime. So let's somewhere meet in the middle. You have the pressure from the jackasses in the White House now, who's only trying to get involved in this Big Ten situation in football, trying to be played because he needs Pennsylvania, he needs Michigan, he needs Ohio, as well as Florida, even though they're not in the Big Ten, but he needs those swing states in the Midwest to try to get him reelected. And the people up there, there's enough people up there that are stupid enough to believe that if somehow, some way, the Big Ten decides that they're going to go ahead and play football, he can sit there and say, the fact that I lied to you people about the pandemic, I was the one who got football back playing to where it should be. And if you win the national championship, Ohio State, if you win the national championship, Penn State, if you win the national championship, Michigan, guess who you can thank for that happening? Me. Show me your appreciation on November 3rd when you vote for me. So this is all this minutia, all of this yippity yap, all of this nonsense that's swirling around in terms of the Big Ten playing football again. I think it's everything that's wrong with college athletics. Absolutely everything that's wrong. The Big Ten presidents are caving into pressure from a bunch of fucking parents who are sitting up there talking about my son needs to play. Are you kidding me with the pandemic going on right now? Well, we don't know what's going on right now? These guys still have their scholarships available. If I'm a parent of a child in the Big Ten who's playing football, that would be my main concern. A, is my child going to still be on scholarship if football is not being played? Oh, he is? Cool. Then I'm good either way. If you guys decide that you're not going to be playing football this season, which you decided you did on August 11th, then I'm cool with it. As long as I don't have to pay a dime for my son's education by going to Northwestern, by going to Michigan State, by going to Penn State, by going to Ohio State, by going to Indiana, I'm cool with that. That should be the main thing. And how close is my son going to be to getting a degree? Are the avenues for him when he graduates from the university? Is he still going to have the same opportunities to get a job just in case he doesn't get into the NFL? Are those situations, are those opportunities still going to be available? If they are, while it would be nice for my son to be playing football, that's not the main reason why my son is going to play football. It's there to get an education. And more importantly than getting an education is making ties, is making friendship, is making connections for people who can help him get a job when he finally graduates, especially in the world that we're living in right now amidst a pandemic, when we don't know when it's going to be ending, or we don't know what the final outcome is going to be. I don't give a goddamn flying fuck if my son had the opportunity to play against Northwestern Indiana and goddamn Penn State. My main thing would be, man, get your education, make the connections that you need once you get your education to where you can go from the graduate stage on to making money doing the 9 to 5, starting to pay your dues as soon as possible. That should be the main concern of the parents. And I know that the majority of the parents for these Big Ten schools, I know they say, hey, look, we'll go ahead and we'll go with the decision that's made about my son playing football. But, sometimes, the most vocal, even though they're the minority, is the one who gets the most attention and gets the most spotlight. And it's a shame and it's horrible that these presidents are going to cave into these fucking knuckleheads who feel like their son, like the Big Ten, by not playing football, is taking away their son's opportunity to become the next Jerry Rice, Joe Montana, Tom Brady, Jim Brown, Walter Payton, or Aaron Donald, all rolled into one. As I mentioned before on my podcast, welcome to life, kids. Welcome to life. Guess what? When you graduate from college or when you get out of college, that's when you start living. That's when your adult life starts living. That's when you start realizing that, oh shit, you know what? Life ain't fair. Oh, goddamn, life ain't fair. How about that? And some of these, and I know the Big Ten wasn't perfect in this whole situation in terms of whether we're going to play, we're not going to play. Some people might have said that they went a little bit too fast. They made the decision too early that, one day they had the schedule all laid out and then 4 days later they say, oops, I'm sorry, we're not going to play anymore. Look, I'm not saying that Kevin Warren, the commissioner of the Big Ten, is not at fault. I'm not saying that there's not blood on his hands concerning this decision. Yes, he made some mistakes about this. But once again, I'm not, once the decision was made by the school presidents, by the way, once the decision was made to not play football again, what exactly has changed to make them say, oh yeah, we made a mistake, we're going to go ahead and play again? I just don't know. And again, it just feels that it's absolutely wrong in terms of what they're doing. The way that these college athletes, who aren't getting any kind of meaningful compensation for the sacrifice, for the fact that they are one of the main reasons why, coaches like Ryan Day and coaches like Jim Harbaugh and coaches like James Franklin and coaches like, I don't know who's coaching now for, is it Mel Tucker? Who's coaching for Michigan State? For all these Big Ten coaches who are making millions upon millions of dollars, their income, their way of life, their lifestyle is based on these college athletes who aren't making anything in terms of what they should be making, the way they're helping out the university, whether they're helping out, the community at large. So what these guys are doing, they're not worried about the student athletes in terms of what's best for them. The reason why they're making this decision is because Columbus needs some money. It's because the economy in Ann Arbor can't function without Michigan football. It's because Happy Valley down at Penn State can't function if you don't have these 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old kids who aren't getting compensated correctly to go ahead and make sure that the mom and pop stores in the community stay afloat. That's the reason why. It has nothing to do with their wanting to help out the student athletes or what's best for the student athletes. It's a joke. It's an absolute joke. So these kids, these athletes are being used. They're being used as pawns by these well-paid, highly influential, powerful adults. We're speaking about millionaires multiple times over. And it just sucks. And it just sucks because you know that they don't have their best interest, the students' best interest at heart, or should I say the student athletes' interest at heart. And that sucks. That sucks when you know that's the main reason why the Big Ten is going to reverse course and try to do what they can to get back to playing football as soon as possible. Because heaven's sakes alive, a 19-year-old kid who's barely making anything and is supposed to be a student athlete is the reason whether the local mom and pop store down the street stays in business. You know, that's the reason why, because Ryan Day and these guys who are making millions upon millions of dollars need these kids to play football and perform so those guys can continue making the millions upon millions of dollars that they do. And the majority of these kids who play for these universities in this Big Ten conference will not be going and playing in the NFL for 4 or 5 or 6 years and getting that nice pension from the NFL and getting that nice paycheck from the NFL. But you know, that really doesn't matter. What we need to do is we need to make sure that the town's economy still keeps percolating along, and we need to make sure that the university itself can go ahead and continue doing what it needs to do to continue to grow and everything. Because you know, when you're talking about a school like Penn State, when you're talking about a school like Ohio State, when you're speaking about a school like Northwestern or Michigan State or Indiana or any of those type of Big Ten schools, the college athletics, especially the football program, plays a large role in terms of how well the attendance is for the school. So you know, it's all a game, it's all a business, and it's a shame. And look, I get it. 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old kids want to play football, man. They want to play football, and everything is great. But look, man, you know that's life. And people are speaking about, well, you know, one day they decided they were going to do one thing and the next day they were going to do another. Well, I mean, welcome to life, man. Let me tell you something. I had a job where on March 8th, I got the call or I got the email or we all got the email, employees here at Clark County, that said, don't worry about it. We're going to be going back to school on Monday. That Friday, when I was substituting, having a great time and, you know, getting paid, you know, we got the word that Friday that, hey, guess what? Don't worry about it. On Monday, we're going to go back to school, so everything is cool and everything is copacetic. Then that Sunday night, we got an email saying, oops, sorry, we've shut down. You know, when we return, we'll let you know. Welcome to fucking life. That's the way it is. So, you know, I don't buy this horrible, terrible thing about one day the Big Ten was bringing out schedules to start the season, and then a few days later or something, they canceled the season. Now everybody is up in arms and everybody made a bad decision. I'm not with that. I'm not down with that. So, you know, there we go. Wendell's World in Sports podcast. I'm your host, Wendell Wallace. So glad that you could be with us. This is the video version of what I'm going to be talking about on my podcast. I'm probably going to be publishing it on a Tuesday morning. Probably have to go ahead, do a little bit more work on the NFL, do a little bit more work, of course, on the NBA, the Los Angeles Clippers. Woo! So I'll be talking about that. James Harden and the Houston Rockets looking for a new coach. Who's going to coach that team? What coach other than Mike D'Antoni can coach small ball? Does Don Nelson want to come back out of retirement? I know he's up there, you know, planting weed in Hawaii. Does he want to come back and try to coach this team? Is Paul Westhead, the guy who coached the Loyola Marymount and then tried his deal with the Chicago Bulls back in the day? He's somebody who likes to run that fast tempo, small ball, run and shoot, three-point shot type of system. Is he available? Does he want to try to coach that team? Because I don't know, besides Westbrook and James Harden, I don't know, and maybe Eric Gordon, I don't know where else you go in terms of what you can do to make that team more competitive. I'm quite sure also with Mike D'Antoni going bye-bye from Houston, I don't know how the GM Daryl Morey keeps his job. I mean, he should have been fired already for that bullshit he did with China and Hong Kong and all that kind of stuff, costing the NBA millions upon millions of hundreds of millions of dollars. That's a fireable offense right there. So now the Rockets really have a good opportunity to fire him after the meltdown and the way the season ended against the Los Angeles Lakers in the NBA playoffs. So I'll get into all that. A lot of good stuff. A lot of good stuff. Miami, Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals. A lot of good things. But let me focus, and get back to football here on Wendell's World in Sports. Football is back. Thursday night game started the whole damn thing. Kansas City defending champions. I'm not going to say their nickname because I don't know if it's politically correct or not. So just like I switched from calling Washington, I've switched to calling them the Washington Snyder Skins, inept skins, dysfunctional skins. while I'm a fan of their team still skins, but didn't use their nickname. So instead of saying the Kansas City Chiefs, I'm just going to say the Kansas City defending champions. Nice little ring to it. Started off their season with a solid victory over the Houston Texans, 34-20. I call it a solid professional opening day victory. Patrick Mahomes, solid, not spectacular. 24-32, 211, 3 touchdown passes. I think this is a guy who's, getting away from the, oh my goodness, eye-popping, no-look passes type of deal. More substance and style in his game, even though his style was very potent. He's already the best quarterback in the game. But when you see Kansas City, when you're speaking about their chances of winning a Super Bowl, and you see the stat line and you see the way that Mahomes played, you realize how strong of a team the defending champion Kansas City football team is, because they don't need Mahomes to throw for 500 and make 5 touchdown passes. It would be spectacular for them to win. Again, 24-32, 211 yards, 3 touchdowns. Tom Brady. Wow. Edwards-Helaire, the rookie running back from LSU, finished his NFL debut with 138 yards and a touchdown on 25 carries. So you had that dichotomy of the balance between the run and the pass game. For the Houston Texans, Deshaun Watson, yeah, he was all right. He was all right. 20-32, 253 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, bad interception too. But the loss of DeAndre Hopkins was noticeable, very noticeable. Will Fuller caught 8 passes for 112 yards. That's great, but I was speaking about Brandon Cooks or Randall Cobb, the 2 wide receivers that they got to replace Hopkins. They didn't do anything, basically. They combined for 4 catches for 43 yards in their Texans debut. So, the Texans are going to be average. Bill O'Brien, the general manager, is fucking with Bill O'Brien, the coach. And that's the reason why DeAndre Hopkins played a big role in Arizona's victory today over the defending NFC champion San Francisco 49ers. And this is going to be a situation where, Deshaun Watson, he's has more responsibility on his back in terms of being a top 8, top 9, top 5 NFL quarterback more than anybody else. The way that the receivers balled out for Aaron Rodgers today, Aaron can't be complaining too much that the Packers didn't give him any help in the draft of the wide receiver position. We know about the weapons that Mahomes have. We know about the weapons that someone like a Drew Brees has. We know some weapons that Lamar Jackson has, especially in the running game. For Deshaun Watson, who do you turn to? Deshaun Watson, for this trade to really be sensible in any way, shape, or form, the DeAndre Hopkins trade. David Johnson, who had a good game, he was good, fine, but when you're speaking about he was the main reason why you traded DeAndre Hopkins, he's got to be better than just good and just fine. He's got to be at least 2,200, 2,500 combined yards per season, spectacular, for them to be like, all right there, Bill, I understand what you're saying. Good move, man. And the offensive line, again, didn't play well for Houston. And you need to keep Watson upright, man. Good Lord have mercy. So, I'm not reading too much, and I'll get into it a little bit later with some of the other games I'm going to go over, some of the more important games that I'm going to go over. Look, it's 1 week. As I mentioned before, the NFL season, you can't write anything in stone. You can't write anything in any erasable ink in terms of what's going down. The teams that look great on Sunday in week 1 aren't going to be looking the same week 8, week 12, week 16. So with the DeAndre Hopkins thing, DeAndre Hopkins trade, it was bad. And moving forward, we'll see what Deshaun Watson has, and let's see what he can do to incorporate more from Brandon Cooks. They don't really have any tight ends that he can go to. So we're speaking about some speed on the at the wide receiver position for Houston. But as I mentioned before, Randall Cobb, who I mentioned in my last podcast, had his best season in about 5 or 6 years last season with the Dallas Cowboys. Cooks and Cobb, they're going to do more than just 4 catches for 43 yards and have David Johnson be just good. They got to be doing more than that. Defensive-wise, they did all right. 34 points is not great, but, the defense is average enough to where if the offense for Houston comes around, they should still be a team that should be somewhere around 8-8, 9-7 in the AFC South. Who knows what that's going to get you? We already saw that Indianapolis lost to Jacksonville today. How good is Phillip Rivers going to be for Indy at their new quarterback? Is he going to resemble the quarterback that played for the Los Angeles Chargers 2 years ago, or is he going to resemble the quarterback that played for the Los Angeles Chargers last season? We will find out. But, Tennessee, we'll see how they look. Is Ryan Tannehill going to be able to duplicate the success that he had the last 5-6 games of the season? The workload that Derrick Henry had, how long is he going to be able to sustain that and still put up the numbers and be effective and be as dominant as he was? How much is the loss of Jay Conklin from that offensive line, him going to the Cleveland Browns, how much is that going to play a role in how successful Tennessee can be on offense? I don't know, man. We'll find out. We'll find out. That's why the NFL is the most fabulous, wonderful reality show there is going. In the NFL, you can pretty much know who the great teams are going to be, despite the fact that they play 82 games. In Major League Baseball, because of the non-salary cap, for the most part, most years, you can see, you can tell, you can predict when the season first starts who's going to be the dominant team, who's going to be the better teams, and most of the time that holds the chalk. Hockey, I don't know and I don't care. But for football, you never know. And when we're speaking about a year where I'm hoping, I'm praying that we can go 16 straight games uninterrupted because of the virus not being as deadly or not being as strong or not being as forceful as many people who know what they're talking about are predicting, in the way that this country is being so laissez-faire, being so irresponsible and trying to take care of eradicating this virus. I don't know what's going to happen, but this podcast that I'm doing today, the video podcast that I'm doing today, is not going to be sitting there talking about, hey, you know what, because of today's game, I think the Philadelphia Eagles stink, the Cleveland Browns aren't going to win a game, and the Kansas City Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl and go 16-0. I'm not doing any of that stuff. So bear with me on that. Wendell's World of Sports, the podcast. I'm your host, Wendell Wallace. So glad that you could be with us. The video version, here, the YouTube version of Wendell's World of Sports, speaking about what's going down in the world of sports. Now, the show for racial and social justice that tried to take place the opening day of the NFL on Thursday night, the Kansas City defending champions and the Houston Texans got together for a moment of silence just to say, hey, can we all just get on? Can we all just go ahead and do the unity thing and the equality thing and the togetherness thing and the harmonious thing, honoring, remembering, taking a moment of silence for reflection and all those type of things. And they were met with boos. Now, reading some folks who were there, they were like, look, you know what? The media is blowing it out of control. There were boos, yes, but it wasn't as loud as many are reporting that it was. I don't care. Boos are boos. It was disrespectful. It was disgraceful, but it wasn't surprising. So my thing is, because I was reading some of the comments from people in terms of, well, you know what, fuck that bullshit, man. I'm just here to watch a football game. I don't need politics. The NFL is becoming too political. The NFL is too left-wing. The NFL, this, that, and the other, all that bullshit, right? So here's my deal for those who want to sit there and say, I don't like these players kneeling during the national anthem. I don't want to see any of that stuff, because when I watch a football game, when I watch an NFL game, I'm just there to watch these guys entertain for me. Entertain me, bitches. I don't give a damn about your politics. I don't give a damn about your social injustice. I don't give a damn about your causes. You guys are multi-pampered millionaire athletes. What the fuck do you know about struggle? What the fuck do you know about what's going on in the street? What the fuck do you know about living paycheck to paycheck? You jackasses are making millions upon millions of dollars. You guys don't have the fucking right to sit there and oppose anything. This country has given you the opportunity to play a child's game and make millions upon millions of dollars and be superstars and have the lifestyle that I only dream of. I'm a fucking guy working 9 to fucking 5. I got a wife. I got a family. I got all this shit going on. I don't got a fancy car. I don't got fancy cars. I don't live in a big house. My paychecks ain't fat to where I can take care of my kids. I don't got that generational wealth. So why do I want to see a bunch of these spoiled, pampered athletes sitting there kneeling during the national anthem? Why do I want to sit there and have these guys coming together for social, racial injustice when we know these guys just want to defund the police, when we know these guys just want to have these criminals move into our white suburban neighborhoods and terrorize and demonize and destroy our neighborhoods? Come on, man, that's bullshit. That's terrible. That's horrible. For those idiots, for those jackasses, for those losers, for those bigots, for those racists who even feel that way, if that's going to be your basis for not giving these players the respect they deserve when they go out there and they exercise their First Amendment rights by peacefully protesting before the fucking game starts for a few seconds, for you idiots who can't fucking even handle that because of the attitude that I just presented to you, well then guess what? Next time that we take a moment of silence to remember the victims of 9/11, the next time that we take the moment of silence to remember the soldiers and the police officers and the firefighters and the essential workers in this country, here's what I want you motherfuckers to do. The same people who are booing and cheering and expressing all of this bullshit about why these athletes are protesting, I want you to do the same fucking thing. So for the New York Yankees, who came out in wearing caps with the fire department, and for the New York Police Department, 9/11, you motherfuckers should have been booing your asses off. You people should have been on social media tearing those motherfuckers down because you should be out there saying the same goddamn thing. I don't give a fuck. I didn't come to watch a baseball game where they're going to be talking about 9/11. A horrible, terrible, tragic day like that. I don't need to be reminded of that when I turn on a baseball game, when I turn on a football game, when I turn on a basketball game, because each one of those leagues paid homage, paid remembrance to those heroes and to those Americans who died. So if you don't want to take the fucking time, if you want to have the fucking attitude, if you want to be stupid and ignorant enough to sit there and talk about, I don't give a fuck about the countless number of black and brown and poor folks who have been murdered by the police, who have been violated by the police, who have been oppressed by the police, and living in this country where black people are sometimes, a lot of times, more than not second-class citizens and don't get the opportunities and don't have the equality that everybody else. If you want motherfuckers want to sit there and do that bullshit, do the same goddamn thing when we're speaking about people as far as firefighters, police officers, anything fucking political, anything that might even look political, anything that might even smell political, anything that might even have a hint of anything other than playing fucking sports, I want you stupid motherfuckers to boo, to hiss, and to jeer. Because it's the same goddamn thing. It's the same thing. Can't have it, as Ryan Clark said, if we took a moment of silence for the wonderful officers, the police officers that put their lives on the line, and for the soldiers who are protecting our freedom and right, let's have a moment for them. Ain't none of you motherfuckers would boo. None of you clowns would fucking boo. So why are you booing now when it's like, let's take a moment of time before the fucking game starts to say, hey, you know what? Let's have some equality and let's have some unity and let's have some harmony amongst everybody, not just on your fucking terms. You can't do that, huh? You won't do that, huh? You can't come near that, huh? All right. Again, keep politics out of the game, right? Keep politics out of the game. All I want to see is people run, shoot, hit, catch, tackle, guard, win championships, right? That's what your mantra is, right? That's what you're talking about? Then I don't want to see when they do the University of Iowa football games, whenever they come back, and they go ahead and they start talking about them kids who are facing terminal illnesses and all that kind of stuff. Don't show me that shit. I don't want to see that nonsense. I'm just here to watch football. Don't talk about any of these players and the athletes and these backgrounds and all this kind of stuff. I don't want to hear that shit. I'm just here to watch these guys play football. That's it. I want to be entertained. I don't want to have my emotions being tugged on. I don't want to have my thoughts being swayed to somewhere else. I don't want to have any of that nonsense. I'm here to watch football players play football. Or I'm here to watch basketball players play basketball. I'm here to watch MMA fighters try to knock the fuck out of each other or submit somebody. I'm here to watch a boxer knock somebody the fuck out. I'm here to watch Roger Federer, Rafa Nadal, and those guys play tennis. That's it. That's all I want to do. I want to see Serena Williams and Naomi Osaka go at it, and I don't want to see Naomi putting a fucking bullshit over her face. You know what? That's your attitude. That's your attitude. So there you go. These athletes are talking about, oh yeah, these rich, spoiled, pampered athletes. What the fuck are you doing on your off days in terms of helping out people? Because a lot of these football players who are multimillionaires, first of all, they deserve every penny of it because they worked their butts off. The Lord gave them a gift to be able to play the sport at a high level, to be less than 1% of the population who's good enough to play in a league like the NBA or Major League Baseball or the NFL or the NHL or become a top ranked boxer or MMA mixed martial artist or a tennis player. So they've actually been given that gift. And do you know how much sweat, determination, sacrifice that these guys had to go through to get where they are right now? Do you realize people who are born with nothing to get where they are right now? Do you know how much they had to work? Do you know how much they had to sacrifice? Do you know how much they had to put into what they do? So for you to sit there and call them a spoiled, pampered athlete, the high majority of them are not. And for those who are sitting there talking about they don't need to be espousing their views or anything, these people are doing more than they're doing more for their community. They're doing more for your community than you'll ever do. How much money are you giving toward charity? How much money are you giving to make your community better? How much are you doing to even try to make your little small space of friends better in terms of what we can do moving forward? The people who are up there shouting and screaming the most about these athletes don't need to be doing shit are the ones who ain't doing shit at all. The ones who ain't doing nothing at all. Those are the motherfuckers who are the problem. You are the problem, not the athletes. So, for these folks who sit there, I'm never going to watch sports again, or I'm never going to watch this league again because of what they're doing, good, get the fuck out of here. They'll be fine. The NFL ain't going nowhere because your jackass decided that you're not going to watch the games anymore because they offended you by expressing their views toward police brutality and their commitment to try to gain true equality. If that offends you to the point where you're not going to watch a sports league, go fuck yourself. The NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball will be fine without you. Wendell's World of Sports, I'm your host, Wendell Wallace. So glad that you can be with us. Let me get into some NFL action. By the way, you can check all this rosy, wonderful commentary and thoughts and opinions that I'm doing on my podcast, Wendell's World of Sports. You can find it on Spotify. You can find it on iTunes. You can find it anywhere where you listen to podcasts. I think it's wonderful. Wendell's World of Sports. This is just the YouTube version of what I talk about in terms of my podcast, just giving you the quick Cliff Notes version of what I'm going to be discussing on my podcast. So the NFL games this weekend, as I mentioned before, hey, look, Cleveland, Atlanta, Philadelphia, they're not as bad as they looked on Sunday. Eagles fans, calm down. Cleveland Brown fans, I know it's Cleveland, I know, but I'm telling you, they're not as bad as you think they are. Kevin Stefanski is going to get things turned around. I'm not saying that they're going to go 13-3 and be in the Super Bowl or anything like that, but as bad as they looked against Baltimore, 38-6, as dysfunctional as they looked against Baltimore, 38-6, as uninterested in the fact that a lot of these guys didn't look like they were taking any steps forward, Baker Mayfield, I still think that they're going to be better than what they look today. Same with Atlanta, same with Philadelphia. 27 straight points given up by Philly against Washington. Not good, not good. And in contrast, Washington and Jacksonville. I'm a Washington Snyder Skin fan, despite the owner. I understand we're not going to shock the world and make the playoffs based on Sunday's performance. I understand that both in Jacksonville and Washington, they're going to fall back to the mean. I understand that, you know what, if Washington can win 5 games this year, if they can win another 4 games in the next 15 games they play, that'll be good. What I really want them to happen is I only want them to win 1 game, which is today against Philadelphia, so we can go ahead and we can draft ourselves Trevor Lawrence. That's what I really want to do. But the front 4 for Washington looks fantastic. You got Jonathan Allen, you got Chase Young, you've got Montez Sweat. Those guys, sacked Carson Wentz 8 times. So you have something to work with for Ron Rivera. You have something to work with as far as a dominant front, the defensive line. Okay, we can start building around that. But Dwayne Haskins, better, but at one point during the game, he was 3 for 12. You still got to show me something before I'm sitting up there talking about, yeah, that's our guy, that's our guy, that's our guy. But you know, I'm a Washington football fan, so I'm happy. Can't you tell? The Tampa Brady Buccaneers started their era, ERROR and ERA, which was low, against the New Orleans Saints, 34-23 loss. Tommy Tom was 23 of 36 for 239 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, a quarterback sneak. 4 touchdowns, he had 3 sacks, and 2 vintage Jameis Winston type interceptions. I'm quite sure people were looking around saying, wait a minute, why did Jameis Winston put on white face, look like Tom Brady, and get back on the football field wearing number 12 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Didn't we get rid of him? Didn't he go to the New Orleans Saints? What's he doing up there playing for? Oh, that was Tom Brady. Shit, what the fuck was that? First interception was intercepted by Marshawn Lattimore. It was intended for Mike Evans. Brady thought that Evans should have kept going. Evans thought the Saints coverage called for him to stop. He stopped. So what Bruce Arians said in terms of who was right and who was wrong, what Bruce Arians said about the play after the game was miscommunication. Mike read it right. Tom overthrew it. Oops. Then the second interception, again, vintage Jameis type. Brady telegraphed the pass that Janoris Jenkins jumped the route, intercepted the ball, ran 36 yards for the touchdown. And what Arians said about that interception was, bad decision. Fuck it. It's like, hey, what else can I say? Look, I mean, Brady's a pro. Brady's one of the greatest of all time. He's not going to sit up there and say, well, fuck you then, Bruce. Nah, Brady's not going to sit up there and try to deflect or defend. I mean, he understood that he made a bad decision. He owned it. He owned up to it. So it's cool. It's like, talking real, and we move on from there. So I guess the important thing that we can say after this game is that Tom Brady, the greatest, the GOAT, TB12, him and Alex Guerrero, they've never won a football game without Bill Belichick being their coach. Boom. Answer, question answered. Who was more important, Belichick or Brady? I mean, take a look. Brady's never won a game without Belichick being his coach. I'll take your phone call next. No, I'm just joking. So, but, every week, this is going to be the deal when you're speaking about Brady now. Every single week. It's going to be game to game. Sometimes it's going to be half to half. Sometimes it's going to be quarter to quarter in terms of, who was more responsible for the New England Patriots becoming a dynasty. Was it Belichick or was it Brady? You saw Belichick today, 21-11 victory over the Miami Dolphins. Hey, hell about that. If you want to even go even further, Belichick was 11-5 with Matt Castle as their quarterback back in the day when Brady against the Kansas City defending Super Bowl champions tore up his knee. So, hey, there, that, and the other. But look, man, Tom Brady and Tampa Bay, they're going to be fine. If the season goes uninterrupted for 16 weeks, calm down, man. Tom Brady is going to be just fine. He ain't going to be Tom Brady of 2008. Not going to be Tom Brady of 2012. He ain't even going to be Tom Brady of 2016, 17 when he was a young lad of 36, 37, 38 years old. But Tampa Bay lost to the New Orleans Saints. There's no shame in losing their first game against one of the favorites to win the Super Bowl on the road. This is exactly what happens when you have a change of scenery, when you compete with a new set of offensive weapons and a new head coach and a new offense and a new system, a lack of preseason due to the pandemic. You're getting everything. You're moving from, this was a guy who, was living most of the time in Boston and LA and New York, and all of a sudden he's going to be going down to Tampa Bay, Florida. He's going to be away from his wife. He's away from his kids. So he's again, no preseason. So, look, Tom Brady is going to be fine. This wasn't even the worst opening day performance in his career. And you remember back in 2003. You remember the good old days, 2003? The Patriots were blown out 31-0 on opening day by the Buffalo Bills. That was the game where the New England players were upset with Belichick because he let Lawyer Malloy go, and Drew Brees, who was traded from the team that year, was the starting quarterback from Buffalo, and everybody was talking about, yeah, Drew, you showed him. Yeah, I told you they made a mistake. Yeah, you sure were the man. Well, that year, the Patriots went ahead and won the Super Bowl. Now, I'm not saying that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to win the Super Bowl. I'm not even saying the Tampa Brady Buccaneers are going to win the Super Bowl. But what I am saying is that you really can't take too much out of this loss to the New Orleans Saints. It's a work in progress. First time they were on the field together playing in a real game. So, again, just speaking about a guy, one of the greatest, not just quarterbacks, but football players of all time. Tampa Bay has too many weapons. Mike Evans was injured, so he was compromised in that way. Again, if we have a normal NFL season, Tampa Bay is still going to end the season somewhere between, I don't know, at the very, 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 very worst case scenario, 9-7, very, very, very best case scenario, 12-4, 13-3. I have really more faith in Tom Brady coming around and being a top 8 to top 12 quarterback this season than any of the other additions that the Buccaneers made that was going to put them, favors to, make the Super Bowl and be one of the teams that were going to win the Super Bowl. I mean, Rob Gronkowski was very silent in his debut against New Orleans. He was targeted 3 times, had 2 receptions for 11 yards. O.J. Howard, who caught a touchdown pass from Brady, I think he's going to be a guy who's going to be a bigger target for Tom at the wide receiver or at the tight end position as the season moves along. Leonard Fournette carried the ball 5 times for 5 yards. So, look, it's just a work in progress. There were some mental errors that the Buccaneers made both on defense and in offense. It's going to happen. New Orleans wasn't setting the world on fire either. Drew Brees was pedestrian at best. Alvin Kamara, who just signed that big contract extension or signed that new contract, I mean, he was pretty nice. But, I mean, again, it's a situation where when you don't have any preseason games, when you have an offseason that's clunky and awkward as it was, these things are going to happen. But if you take a look at the upcoming schedule for Tampa Bay, where they play Carolina, then they're at Denver, the Chargers, the Bears. Thursday night, they're at Chicago, Green Bay, then Las Vegas. Look, if they come out of this 5-3 or 6-2, they'll be fine. They'll be fine. And each week, they're going to be getting better. Brady is going to be getting better. Brady is going to improve. Brady is going to put in the work. He's going to put in the sacrifice. He's going to put in the dedication. So I'm not worried about Brady in terms of what he's going to be doing moving forward. Again, I'm not saying that they're better than New Orleans, but if you take a look at the teams that were playing today, especially in the NFC, who did you see or who came to your mind that stood out in the NFC? Even the teams that were predicted to be contenders for the championship, for the NFC championship. Did anybody blow you away? San Francisco lost to Arizona. Minnesota lost to Green Bay. Green Bay was fine, but they sure didn't look invincible. The Cowboys, I'll get to them in a second. They lost to the LA Rams 20-17, who looked good. That's it, just look good. Seattle, they look good. They look really good. Their domination over Atlanta, but I didn't see anybody where they were just like head and shoulders above everybody else in week 1. And again, as I mentioned before, even if I did, that doesn't mean that I'm going to be guaranteeing that they're going to be the best team in the conference by the time November, December, and January roll around. Wendell's World in Sports. I'm your host, Wendell Wallace. So glad that you can be with us. The YouTube version of Wendell's World in Sports. Dallas Cowboys lose their season opener against the LA Rams 20-17. I mean, I don't know. I know Cowboy fans are going to be pissed off and upset, but to me, it looked like a 2-8-8, 9-7, 10-6 team at best playing against each other. I thought it was a good game. I guess the word you could describe is it was good. It was a good professional football game. Excellent offensive game plan, though, by Sean McVay. Ran the ball 40 times for 153 yards, threw it only 31 times for 269 net yards, didn't put Jared Goff in any positions to where he could be Jared Goff of 2019. He ran the ball again 40 times, had the ball for over 35 minutes, converted 10 of 18, third and fourth downs. So it's a good offensive game. And, for all those guys that want to bash Jason Garrett, McVay sure did coach the pants off of Mike McCarthy, a little bit into that later. Dak Prescott, he was good. He was good. Didn't answer any questions about whether he should be paid like an elite quarterback or not, but he was solid, efficient, good. Wasn't the reason why they lost the game. 25-39, 266, no touchdowns, no horrible passes. The offense managed only 3 points in its 6 drives in the second half, though. Dallas only had 15 net yards on his final 10 plays of the game. He was good. What he did, though, it doesn't equate someone earning a contract around 35 to 41, $42 million on average for the next 4 or 5 years, but he was good. He was good. And it's interesting because, I'm sitting up here and I Cowboy fans, and I can see it right now. I told you he wasn't worth the money. I told you he wasn't worth the money, man. Prescott sucks. Prescott sucks. Prescott sucks. The difference in that discussion in terms of Prescott doesn't deserve the money to, wow, we might have something with Dak is one bad offensive pass interference call. That's the possible difference between, Dak Prescott is clutch, persistent, worthy of franchise QB money, and, the question of whether he should be the Cowboy franchise QB moving on after this season. For 1 week, this is the way it's going to be. I saw this being a Washington football fan. I saw this with Kirk Cousins. Every single week on local radio, that's what it was all about. I mean, they took apart Kirk Cousins' game the final year that he was with that football team, when he didn't sign the long-term contract extension, or when him and the organization couldn't come to terms in a contract. And, Cousins was going to be a free agent. I mean, every single week, every single day. I was back there to visit my parents back in November and December, and I was listening to the local sports talk radio shows, and every single segment of every single show, it was, well, what are we going to do with Kirk Cousins? Kirk Cousins. And the shit wasn't just from game to game. It was almost like from possession. So one possession he sucks, then one possession he's great, then one possession he sucks, then one possession he sucks. So we take 3 bad possessions, 1 good possession. Oh, Kirk Cousins needs to go. He's not the quarterback we thought he was. He needs to go somewhere else. Then in the second half, he comes out. He has a good possession. Oh, hell, we need to re-sign him. This guy's the greatest. That's the type of nonsense that Dak Prescott is going to be facing every single week, because he's the quarterback of the Cowboys. And he's a guy where, just like Cousins, he's good. Cousins is a good quarterback, solid, professional, fine. That's the same thing with Dak Prescott. He ain't Lamar Jackson. He doesn't have the physical attributes of a Lamar Jackson. He doesn't have the overwhelming football talent of a Patrick Mahomes. He's not the quarterback that a Deshaun Watson is. He's not someone like an Aaron Rodgers. He's not someone like a Russell Wilson. He is a good, solid, professional quarterback. That's all he is. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, did the San Francisco 49ers get to the Super Bowl with a good, solid, pretty good, decent quarterback? I would definitely say that Dak Prescott is better than Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, I'm also going to say that Kyle Shanahan is a much better play caller and offensive-minded coach than Mike McCarthy. And the defense for San Francisco, based on last season, is a better defense than the Cowboys. But what I'm saying is that you still have the pieces around for Dallas to win a championship this season. If they get hot at the right time. Everybody of consequence for Dallas, I mean, they were good. They were fine, solid against the Rams on Sunday. They were good. I mean, Zeke ran for 96 yards on 22 carries. He was good. Amari Cooper caught 10 passes for 81 yards. Fine, doable. CeeDee Lamb, his first game as a pro, caught 5 passes for 59 yards. Good. Alden Smith had 11 tackles and a sack and 2 quarterback hits. Good. Darian Thompson, the safety, made 9 solo tackles. He was up there. Good, fine, good. That's all they were. They were good. And they lost to a good team. And as I was mentioning with Tampa Bay, if you take a look at the schedule and say, you know what, after 8 or 9 games, where everybody is either, starting to poo-poo on Tom Brady, or starting to scratch their head or roll their eyes or furrow their brow on whether this acquisition worked for Tampa Bay, is it going to work out to our expectations? 8 and 9 weeks from now, we could be looking up and saying, hey, you know what? Tampa Bay is starting to make their move to becoming one of the more elite franchises or elite teams for the 2020 season. Same thing, possibly, maybe, possibly. I don't know. I mean, we take a look at the NFC East. If you're taking a look, say, for instance, especially the Philadelphia Eagles, you take a look at what's going down with the New York Giants, the Washington Snyder Skins, and the Dallas Cowboys. Let's say, for instance, after when they get to their bye week, let's say Dallas is 6-3, because after they play Atlanta, they open up next weekend at home against the Falcons. Then they play at Seattle, then Cleveland. Then they have 3 straight games. They play on the road at Seattle. Then they have 3 home games in a row against Cleveland, the Giants, and then Arizona. Then they're on the road to Washington. Then they're on the road to Philadelphia, and then Pittsburgh. So by their bye week, they could be sitting in first place in the NFC East at 6-3, and that could be still good, to pretty good. If they're 6-3 and Dak is still, in your estimation, good to pretty good, I mean, what's going to be your take? What's going to be your thoughts and opinions then about what the Cowboys should be doing moving forward with him? So, I don't know. I don't know. Mike McCarthy, as I mentioned before, I want to get to this real quick. He's being questioned about his decision not to kick a potential game-tying field goal from the opponents from Los Angeles' 11-yard line with 11:46 to play in the 4th down, 2017. Really, we're gonna butcher this guy, huh? We're going to sit here and blame this guy with 11:46 left to go in the 4th quarter, with Dallas on the Rams' 11-yard line. You're going to put any blame on Mike McCarthy for going forward on 4th down when you guys crushed and killed and eviscerated Jason Garrett for kicking a field goal? Now, look, according to the ESPN stats and information research, the win percentage had the Cowboys made the field goal attempt would have been 47.5%. If they would have converted that 4th down, the win percentage was 47.2%. So basically, it was a wash. And you take a look at the Mike McCarthy's history. He's never gone for it on 4th down when they're down by 3 in the 4th quarter inside the opponent 30-yard line in his head coaching career. So he's going against some of his own tactics. He's kicked the field goal 6 times, making 5 of them. So, McCarthy spent a year away the sidelines studying, going over game trends, doing analytics, and all this kind of stuff. So, the first game of the fucking season. I mean, now all of a sudden we're going to sit there and start, killing the guy because with 11, almost 12 minutes left to go in a game, a 3-point game, he didn't kick a field goal. If you're the offense, I like that idea. If I'm the riverboat run, isn't that what Ron Rivera is called because of his penchant to go for things? Bill Belichick does the same thing. I have no problem with McCarthy doing that. I don't. Now, if it was maybe later on in the season, if we're speaking about week 13, 14, 15, and, the Cowboys are playing a team that's battling for the playoff spot or for the division, if this was week 13, week 14 against Philadelphia, and Philadelphia or Dallas had a half-game lead or a one-game lead on it, it might be a little bit more, we should have taken that field goal. But first game of the season with 11:46 to go in the game, and you're down by 3, and then go for it. Go for it. Absolutely go for it. Wendell's World of Sports. I'm your host, Wendell Wallace. So glad that you could be with us. I'm going to end with New England over Miami, 21-11. Cam Newton, you know what? Physically and athletically, he might not be the Cam Newton of 2015 or 2016, but he's still effective. And the offense that he's running in Seattle, not only Seattle, but also in New England, it's cool, man. He was 15-19. Josh McDaniel getting it done. 15-19, 155 yards, ran for 75 yards and 2 touchdowns on 15 carries. Brady, by comparison, never eclipsed 41 rushing yards in the game in any of his 285 games for the franchise. So that goes to show you. Fuck yeah, I told you. Brady was washed up. I told you. We got rid of Brady. We brought in Cam Newton. Fuck yeah. Fuck you, Tom. Fuck you and Giselle. Cam's the fucking man. 75 fucking yards. Fuck yeah. New England rushed for 42 times, 217 yards. Most of the season opener under Belichick. Cam didn't attempt any deep throws outside of the numbers. Look good. Now, how is he going to perform moving forward? He took a lot of hits today. He ain't sliding. He ain't Russell Wilson in it. I mean, that big boy is going in there and he's taking hits. A lot of cold running play for him. I'm just interested to see, is he going to be able to last? We're talking about a guy who's been taking, over He's carried the ball over 930 times. He's had multiple serious surgeries. I mean, he's looking good in week 1. I mean, is he still going to be doing this week 10, week 11, week 12? I mean, Belichick and Josh McDaniel know more about this than I do. So, they feel that this is going to be the way. And maybe as he gets more acclimated with the offense, that they'll not have him run as much. But, it was interesting. It was interesting. I could see why back in the day when he was the coach in Denver, McDaniels drafted Tim Tebow, because I guess some of the stuff that he was running on Sunday with Cam Newton, he was envisioning that with Tim Tebow. The only difference is Cam Newton, even at his worst, is about 1,000 times better than Tim Tebow is at his best as far as being an NFL quarterback. So the defense played well. I don't know how long. I mean, you're speaking about all the defections, not defections, but even defections and those who are sitting out because of COVID for New England, some of the more important players on their defense, how much longer that they can go. It'll be interesting. But if one thing I know, you don't tug on Superman's cape. You don't spit into the wind. You don't pull the mask off of Old Ranger, and you don't fuck around with Bill Belichick in terms of him being an awesome, awesome coach. So, yeah, good stuff by New England and Bill Belichick. Wendell's World of Sports. I'm your host, Wendell Wallace. So glad that you could be with us. The video version, the video YouTube version of what I'm talking about. Again, you can hear all of this stuff and so much more on my podcast, Wendell's World and Sports, wherever you listen to podcasts, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, I don't know, Google, whatever. You just type in Wendell's World and Sports, you stupid motherfuckers. You'll get it. No, I'm joking. Let me end with this. The Brooklyn Nets have a new coach. Steve Nash signed a 4-year contract to coach the team. He was the Golden State Warriors player development consultant the past 5 years. He was, he's been the GM, I think, for Team Canada. So it'll be interesting to see him coming in. Is he going to be the next Larry Bird or Steve Kerr, or is he going to be the next Derek Fisher? So we'll see moving forward. But here's the part that I want to end with in terms of someone on ESPN and just one of them talking shows speaking about, this was a perfect example of white privilege when you were speaking about Steve Nash. And even Steve Nash had to come out there and say, I have to admit that I, did skip a couple of steps ahead to the front of the line. No. Steve Kerr deserves to be the coach of the Brooklyn Nets. Fucking period. And for someone to say that was because of white privilege, what the fuck are you talking about? He has a personal relationship with Kevin Durant. You don't think the Brooklyn Nets organization ran this through Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving first? You think that those guys went to Kevin Durant and said, hey, we're thinking about hiring Steve Nash because, well, he's white and he's privileged. And Kevin Durant said, nah, fuck that, man. I don't think I'm into it. And they said, yeah, fuck you. We're going to hire him anyway. You don't think that there was any input from those guys? Of course. If Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving said, hey, look, you keep Jock Vaughn at the coach. We want Jock Vaughn at the coach. We'll play hard with Jock Vaughn at the coach. And we'll even think about renewing our contracts because if Jock Vaughn is the coach. You don't think that Jock Vaughn would have been still the coach of the Brooklyn Nets? No. The reason why Steve Nash is the coach of the Brooklyn Nets is because of Kevin Durant and it's because of Kyrie Irving. It has fucking nothing to do with his goddamn skin color. And there's so many cases right now that we're going through where, yes, people are getting preferential treatment and skipping the line because of their skin color, and people are not getting the opportunities that they deserve because of their skin color. For you to say such a jackass comment that Steve Kerr got the job because of his skin color, it's hurting our cause as far as getting us opportunities to try to get a job. So I don't know what the fuck you were talking about, and you were too goddamn stubborn or too much into your shtick to come out there, and say, yeah, I was wrong, fuck it, I am. Got a little bit out of control there, my bad. I speak a lot, and I say a lot, and I give my opinions a lot, and, I just made a mistake. My bad, moving on. No, he had to double down. He had to go skip Bayless and double down and do all this other stuff and be defiant and all this other nonsense. Getting a job because of white privilege. Magic Johnson got a job coaching the Lakers without any coaching experience. Mark Jackson got a job coaching the Golden State Warriors without having any coaching experience. Doc Rivers got a job coaching the Orlando Magic without any coaching experience. Jason Kidd got a job coaching a basketball team without having any coaching experience. Isaiah Thomas got a job coaching in the NBA without any coaching experience. Derek Fisher got a job coaching in the NBA without any coaching experience. In fact, Jason Kidd and Derek Fisher went straight from playing to coaching. At least Steve Nash had some type of job in terms of something other than playing. So what the fuck is he talking about when he's talking about white privilege? I tell you, man, sometimes black folks, we do it to ourselves in terms of what we're trying to do to move forward and setting up our own obstacles. Sometimes in our fight for unity, equality, understanding, learning, and everything like that, sometimes we're our worst enemy. But, what can you say? All right, I am out of here. I am done. I am glad that you had the opportunity to listen to this video podcast. Once again, you can check me out on Spotify. You can check me out on Apple. You can check me out on iHeart. You can check me out anywhere where you listen to podcasts. That's Wendell's World in Sports, the podcast. Again, the podcast will be coming out in a couple of days, either Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday will probably be when I'll be going ahead and doing this. Oh, and by the way, for the camera and the microphone, working on it right now. You know, hey, times are rough, you know what I'm saying? You know, I got to keep the roof over my head. I got to keep my belly filled. You know, I got to make sure the bills are paid, make sure everything is copacetic. But the production of this video podcast will also be getting better. So I want to thank you very much for listening. Special dedication to my wonderful, beautiful, fabulous, awesome, intelligent, wonderful goddaughter, the most fabulous person under the age of 50 walking this planet. So yeah, it's good. So my name is Wendell Wallace. This has been Wendell's World in Sports, the podcast version here on YouTube. Take it easy.